And then the last thing he says, gossip reinforces values. When we talk about others' behavior, we're also defining what's acceptable in our community without direct conflict. Yeah. So like, a lot of times people be talking about how like, yeah, man, this person don't raise their kids, or like, yo, you shouldn't be friends with somebody that's doing this, that's doing that. Like, yes, sometimes it is bad stuff, whatever, but like, yeah, I kind of want to know like the people that I'm associating with, if they hit women, or if I'm talking about a man, if they a deadbeat dad, or if we talking about if we talking about the opposite sex, or other people, like we need to know what behaviors are good, or what behaviors are not good. Online, we see so many people that are like zealots, you know what I'm saying, or like they be preaching, and then but deep down we know that this person ain't living what they talking about, whatever. But like that helps us to build our own social value, as to like, nah, we don't want to be like that. Like, it might not even be about the person, but it's about that entity. So man, we be finding, man, we talking about politics, man, we be finding out that certain people have certain belief systems and stuff like that, and they make it do raise the eyebrow sometimes, and sometimes you might be like, oh no, I can't rock with that person, but like it's still helpful and useful information, and it helps us to navigate and guide our ways through our lives, and to be like, yeah, nah, I rock with people that's doing this, that's doing that. And yes, it can be like sometimes you can it can be mean spirited, and again, that's, I would say, I'm kind of, I frown upon that for the most part. And when I say mean spirited, it's like where we're actually like ridiculing somebody, not having an in-depth conversation about somebody's behavior, but like talking down on somebody, like kicking somebody while they down. You know what I mean? Like that's what we shouldn't do, especially if it's somebody that we do value, or somebody that we once valued. We should not be like kicking people while they on the ground. But like, if somebody is doing wrong, or somebody is doing something that's like a little bit questionable, you gonna have that conversation with your friend to see. And sometimes you might come with some information that might be deemed negative, right? And then if you talk about that with your friend might give you some clarity as to like they know the reasoning why this person did something. They can give you even an alternate perspective. Well, like, you say something, and then they'll be like, well, did you ever think about the reason why they did this was because this was going on in this person's life? And then it creates like also another scenario to where it's like, damn, that's true, man. Like, I can't really knock this person for doing some of the things that they did, because they were in this predicament, in that situation, right? So yes, like, it's not all bad, and men and women do it. Don't front, don't act like you don't. Again, all the stories that you tell about your people, all the stories that you tell about and I'm talking about your people, your friends and family, but then also the people that you're interacting with. That's all that would be lumped into gossip, right? Like, again, I got a homie that's single, and he telling me about, whatever, his a girl that he's messing with, whatever. Like, all right, that's gossip. You know what I mean, but like, ew, we need that, man, because we need to fact check. We need the Carfax on some of this stuff, right? So don't look at it as something like that. And then people that avoid crowds and avoid interaction because they're worried about that type of stuff, it is keeping you isolated. To be honest, I'm flattered anytime I hear that, even when it's negative. I be kind of flattered, like when I hear that my name is in a certain conversation, if it ever comes back to me, because I be thinking like, well, damn, yo, you that worried about me? You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Or like, especially when it's good stuff, like yo, man, I be telling people, man, how dope it is that you have this business, or yo, how dope it is that you going to school to do this, or like how dope it is that, yo, your son is the starting quarterback of this team. And then you learn, like, we teach each other so much through these experiences that we share, and it's something that we should not necessarily frown upon, But yeah, check yourself, man. If it's somebody that yeah you value and you care about and you feel like the conversation is negative, you can stop the conversation altogether. You can check the person that's talking to you, like, hey man, like I don't need certain details, but you could, I mean, you could share or just say like, "Hey, man, I'm not feeling this, man. I'm gonna see my way out of this conversation." But like, take it with a grain of salt, man, and really analyze what you're hearing, as opposed to just like reacting. Right. So that's good here. All right, that's a good topic, man. I was feeling that. I was feeling that. There's some other things that we're gonna share probably in the next couple weeks. I have a cool thing about narcissists that we'll share one day. But we'll move forward. We'll move forward. All right. So let's talk about we got our TV show review. All right. And so I finally finished it, man. So I'm gonna tell you about this. So I watched on Netflix. Netflix has a dope series called Monster, and they feature a different notorious like serial killer, right? Or notorious villain of society in some ways, right? So the first season was about Jeffrey Dahmer. The second one was about the Menendez brothers. I did not see that one. And the third one was about Ed Gein. And I saw people talking about this show, and I was like kind of like I don't know what they talking about, whatever. But what grabbed my attention was the actor that plays Ed Gein. So the actor is Charlie Hunnam, which is one of my favorite actors from one of my favorite shows, Sons of Anarchy. And Charlie Hunnam don't really do he's been in other things that I'm not necessarily familiar with, but I know him from Sons of Anarchy. And so I'm like looking at like I'm hearing some whispers about what this is, and I know that this guy is some type of like he's a serial killer, right? So, but I'm like, I don't really know his story. I didn't know any background. I didn't do any research going into it. Like I seen one or two things people were talking about, but I was like, I kind of ignored it because I was like, all right, Charlie Hunnam's in it. I'm gonna check it out. I'm just gonna check it out. Yo, this show was it hooked me from the beginning. It hooked me from the very beginning, and this show is disturbing. It's disgusting and it's very deranged. And this is what I'll say is like a lot of shows, Netflix shows, it's natural to binge watch these things. It's natural to just kind of run off multiple episodes at a time. And some people even watch this show like that. This show took me a couple weeks to watch because I can only watch like one episode at a time. Like after I watched the episode, I always had to like take a deep breath and be like, yo, hey, yo, this dude is crazy. Like, because the stuff that he was like getting into, it was wild, right? So, if you don't know about Ed Gein, right? So Ed Gein was was convicted of some crimes back in like his crime spree went from like the 40s to the 50s, so probably like 47 to like 57. Let's just give that ballpark, and I may be off by a little bit, but you know and so he's kind of like a middle-aged man, or he's like an adult, whatever, and he lives with his mother. And his mother is very like domineering. She's a religious zealot, right? She preaches to her son that he should not be interested in women, right? So like she's filling his head, and like in some ways people thought like that's like they trying to humanize, like they a lot of people I've seen that reacted to this show talked about like how they try to humanize this guy again. I don't think they are humanizing it, but like everything has an antecedent, man. Nobody is doing some of the things that they're doing without there being some root cause of it. Now the root cause is he has some mental issues, but also he was raised in this very isolated environment in the Midwest in Plainfield, Wisconsin, to this devoutly and zealoted religious mother, right, who basically forbade him from from she forbade him from having interactions with women, right? Like, and he even had some interests. He had some girls that he liked or whatever, and his mom would always tell him not to, not to do this. Well, what happens is after his mother dies, right? And I won't get into. I'm not gonna give a full summary of this show because you can watch it on your own. I want to focus on more of my reactions. So, but the way this show is, right? Like it seems like things kind of turn for him when his mother dies, right? And this is when he starts to really have these hallucinations. Um, whether it's things that he's hearing. I don't think he really was seeing things, but it was definitely things that he was hearing. Like he even believed that his mother was still alive and she was telling him to do the certain things. Well, we find out too shortly into this show that he has some very peculiar kinks, right? Like he's into certain things. Like this guy was, helping himself out, I should say, but he was into like asphyxiation. So like not only was he doing his dizzle, you know what I'm saying, but he was like choking himself out in the meantime. Not to mention this guy was wearing female lingerie while he was doing it, right? So like and like they show or they depict on the show that his mother like catches him and like she shames him and like and makes the issue worse. And you gotta think about it, it's like, bro, he probably wouldn't have been doing half of these things if he lived in a household that was just a little bit more understanding or a little bit more secular, to be honest, because it was just so strict. He didn't have his father in his life. It was just him, his brother, and his mother, right? um so yeah, so very deranged, right? Very crazy. Well, this guy, he gets into a spree of not only harming people, so he does harm some people, but what he does is he starts to dig up the graves of people. And then he starts this whole meticulous mission on like kind of recreating the female body, right? And so like he's like, yeah, like he starts with corpses and he's taking their skin off, like different body parts, and he's creating masks with it. He's creating like a bodysuit, right? And it's always women, right? And because he has this like strange peculiar fascination with the female body, but he's doing this like kind of haphazardly, and it gets wild. Like the show, it gets crazy. But like any instance where they're showing this type of stuff, it's wild. And like all the while, this guy seems like he's on the spectrum, right? Like he doesn't seem like he's like fully out of it. Like he knows what's going on, but like you can tell like there's some type of disconnect where he doesn't register everything. And when you're getting this violent messaging of what you're doing is wrong and you're forbidden to do certain things, I think those behaviors come out in different ways. And like for Egin's case, it came out in very heinous ways, right? So that's the story. The story is like really deranged. Didn't really give you much about it other than like some of the stuff that he does. Wild, right? So what was cool about this show though too was how they were able to tie in that this man was actually the inspiration behind some of Hollywood's biggest horror films ever, right? Like he was the inspiration behind it, right? So a couple movies that they kind of really point out that he was inspired, and he literally inspired it because the first one was based on his biography, a biography that was done on him. So the first movie that he inspired was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, right? Another movie that he ended up inspiring was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then he also inspired Silence of the Lambs. So if one thing, and I don't know too much about Psycho because Psycho was definitely before my time, but if you know anything about Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Silence of the Lambs, is that there's characters in those movies that have an obsession with skin, with people's skin, right? Like, so if you think about Leatherface, right? Leatherface is wearing like someone's actual face on them, right? If you think about Silence of the Lambs, there's that character Buffalo Bill, right? Who's like, talking about it puts the lotion on its skin, right?